what if I get a home and I could do all the renovations myself? None of my family knew about the 2 or 3K loan. So it was a solo mission. And, thank God for the internet. I remember when I first bought the home, my mom was like, why did you buy this house? Like, what? Now she stepped into the home. She was like, I didn't see it, but I'm proud. And most of the guys that I know want to own a home. I think it's just they're intimidated by maybe not knowing the process. You don't need to have 100K saved up to buy a home.
This is Jocaro Dodd, Maryland Realtor with the Get the Keys podcast. Today I got a very special guest with me. My first guest, and it's a friend of mine. He actually gave me the idea for this podcast. So yeah, Krishan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be your first guest and getting you kick-started for the podcast, man. So glad you're doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if this goes viral and, I start making millions, I owe you a vacation, or I owe you more than a vacation, but I owe you something.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's get into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your home ownership journey.
Yeah, so where am I from? That's usually a hard question to answer when people ask me, because my family, Jamaican, came over. My parents immigrated over from Jamaica to the States. They had my brother over in Jamaica, and then they had me here in the States in New Jersey. My father was in the Navy, so we moved around quite a lot. So we resided in Georgia, Jersey, Florida, Virginia. But usually when people ask me that question, I used to say Virginia because that's where I was for a majority of my adolescence into young adulthood, flip-flopping between Georgia. But then my father retired in Virginia. So now I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. So been here for about 5 years now. And yeah, it's definitely been an interesting ride coming into Baltimore, but it's been a pleasant ride. So happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you.
Yeah, and then you wanted me to touch on a home ownership journey, or did you have a follow-up question? Sorry.
So quick question for you.
Yeah.
Your parents or it seemed like you did move around a lot as a child. Did your parents own homes at each of those stops?
So when I was a child, when we were in Virginia, they had a townhome. I believe they were renting that.
Uh-huh.
They didn't own their first home, and I could be wrong. They didn't own their first home until we moved to Georgia. And then after that, came back to Virginia. They had got another home. So majority of my life, I'd say into young adulthood, was being in a house, being in a home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I had that example from my parents, having a home to come to, despite us moving around frequently.
Okay, but you're not sure if your parents owned or if they were renting,
Well, I know they owned the homes when the only home they rented was the townhome, and that's when I was a kid. After that,
Gotcha.
Every other property they had was ownership. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
home ownership, I guess, was drilled into you or you had the example from when you were younger.
Yeah, which is interesting because my parents didn't say, hey, when you get to this age, you need to own a home. There was really no talk about, hey, you need to get a home. So that kind of came, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later, but that kind of came on to me a little bit later on in life.
Okay. Well, I mean, since we're here, let's jump into it. Like, what was the moment that you decided you wanted to be a homeowner? And was it something that you always wanted? I guess you said you never really spoke about it growing up with your parents, but I guess at what point did you decide, or what was the moment that you decided, hey, this is something I want to do?
So I have to think back. So I grew up in a church. Most of my social environments were involved around church and potlucks. And so where do potlucks usually happen? Either at church or at someone's house. Now that as I'm an adult now thinking about it, I'm like, oh, most of the people that I went over, we had potlucks, they had homes. And they had nice homes, now that I think about it. So I think from a young age, it was like, oh, when I become adult and I'm married, it's just, that's what you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have a house. So I think subconsciously it was, I wouldn't say groomed into me. I think it was exemplified through the experiences, through having social interactions with, other people my age and seeing their parents have homes and welcome us into their homes. Excuse me. and having that visibility to that. So when I became an adult and I left college, I said, well, okay, it's not as soon as I left college that I wanted to get a home. It was like, okay, well, I need to find a job. I
Yeah.
wanted to figure that out. And then I said to myself, okay, I want to make sure by 30, not necessarily I have a home, but that I'm setting myself up financially so I can be prosperous in my later years. And I did the research, and having a property was one of those things. I'm like, okay, I can get a property and use that to utilize something for passive income later in the future. So
Mhm.
I'd say the main motivation was, well, two things: was financial reasons, and the other one was because I didn't like renting. I didn't like having someone above me or below me. So
Right.
having my own property and being able to do what I want was also another driving factor for myself.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
You mentioned 30. Why 30?
30, I think I said 30 because I left college, I think 20, 22, 23. When you're 22, 23, 30 just seems like so far away. And then 25 comes, and then 26 comes, and you're like, oh, shoot, it's right around the corner. But I said to myself, I feel by this age, it was just a goal I set for myself. I was like, I should hope to have these things by this age. I didn't know I was actually going to get it earlier, but I was like, oh, by 30, I should have this, I should have that. And, fortunately for me, God has blessed me with more than I could have imagined where I am now.
Awesome. Awesome. So mainly, I guess the social aspect and the financial stability is what, and I guess, and you say you found that out through research,
Hmm.
is what was the driving factor that led you to want to be a homeowner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. So you did purchase a home. What year?
22.
Okay.
Oh, can't believe time has passed that quickly.
2026. Yeah. So you did purchase a home in 2022 here in Baltimore. And you used a 203K loan. And for those that aren't familiar with the 203K loan, 203K loan lends you money to purchase a property and to make the repairs on the property all in the same loan. So if you're approved for 300,000 and the property that you want to buy is 200,000, you have $100,000 left to put into the repairs to the property that you're interested in. That's a very simplified breakdown of a 203K loan.
Hmm.
So for most first-time home buyers, they would not take on a project. Tell me what led you to choose this option over a traditional, conventional, or FHA loan.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple reasons led me to the 203K. So one of the first things I did when I was started looking for homes, and I would suggest this for whoever's watching this, and this is if you have social media, I joined a Facebook group. So
Okay.
I think the Facebook group was called First Time Home Ownership or something like that. But I joined it and I was like, okay, let me join a group of other people who are also looking for first time home ownership, so that way I could learn, get tips. Because when you have a community, it helps with facilitating better decision making when especially it's your first time. That's the first
Hmm.
thing I did. But when I started looking for homes, I remember I was looking at homes. I got with my first realtor and I fired them because the reason why, I mean, they did a good job, but I realized what I was looking for wasn't kind of what and just another point is, don't be afraid to cut ties with your realtor. I mean, obviously not Jocaro. He's the best realtor there is, but don't don't be afraid to cut ties if you don't feel like the realtor is looking for what you're looking for, or they're looking for the homes that you said, hey, this is what I want. So, but they were fine, but they just feel like we weren't a good fit. So I remember I was looking at homes. I found another realtor. I was looking at homes, and every time we would go and I would place a bid, I would lose the bid, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is my budget, because you go to the bank, they give you a budget. You're like, all right. And obviously, another tip, you don't want let's say you're approved for 300K. You don't need to get a 300K house. Get maybe 250, 240. You don't need to go up to your maximum. But we were
Hmm.
looking for homes, and I was like, okay, every home that I've looked at, when I bid on it, I get outbid. But but every time the home I look at it needs work. It needs some kind of work. So I'm just like, if I'm bidding all this money on a house, and if let's just say I do win the bid and I go under contract, and I win the home, I'm going to have to do some type of upgrade to it anyways, because that's just what's in my price range.
Right.
So obviously, the home that I would have like to have that's updated and modern is going to be way out of my budget. So
Mhm.
I remember I saw a comment on I think on one of on the Facebook group, something about, I can't confirm it. I think I saw it, but it just led me to believing like, okay, what if I get a home and I could do all the renovations myself? And that's what led to me kind of stumbling upon the 2 or 3K loan. And I remember telling my realtor, I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this loan. And, thank God for him, because he knew about it too. Because there's a lot of realtors, they know a little bit about it, but it's
Yeah.
not something they usually advocate for because they don't know too much information. But he knew about it. So he
Mhm.
he helped me along the way as well. But yeah, I was like, if I get a home, I can do what I want. And I grew up watching HGTV with my father. He watched a
Yeah.
lot of it because he's also same mindset like I am. He loves like looking at those kind of shows. And just the thought of being able to do what I want to the house got
Mhm.
me excited. And I was like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and try it. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And I prayed about it, and that's what led me into that process. So yeah.
So I like what you said there. You made the decision, and then you took the time to educate yourself about the process, whether it's talking to, in your case, you went
Mhm.
and joined book groups. Did you talk to any family or friends about it, or what was your process for educating yourself?
So that's the other thing. None of my family knew about the 2 or 3K loan. No
Okay.
one that I knew in my circle knew about it. So it
Hmm.
was a solo mission. And, thank God for the internet. I just used the resources that I could use on YouTube and Google and did as much research as I could. And my realtor also helped. And yeah, that's what led me to making that decision and confirming that this is the best choice for me because I like the project. So
Got you.
yeah.
Okay. And since you brought it up, what wasn't working for you with your first agent?
I was still kind of figuring out what I was looking for. And I think she was only kind of showing me townhomes because I was with my first bank. They gave me approval. And then I realized, oh, I can go with another. I don't have to go with my bank. I can go with another lender.
Yeah,
And my bank recommended her for to help me look for homes. And then I looked for a loan elsewhere. And that's why that also helped facilitate me looking for a different realtor.
I got you.
But yeah, she was only showing me like townhomes. And I was just like, I don't think this is what I'm looking for. And yeah, and also I think she wasn't. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. She wasn't the most responsive, and I
Mhm.
needed like I'm like, look, I need someone to be on it for me. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the other realtor was so.
Another thing, people that are listening, especially first time home buyers, two things. Like Krishan said, if you're working with someone and they're not working for you, you can terminate the agreement. I mean, you
Mhm.
should sign an agency agreement. It's an agreement between yourself and the brokerage that your realtor is affiliated with. And it establishes the business relationship as that agent as your representative for the contract. Keep in mind that it is a legal agreement and you are bound by it, and there should be a start date and a termination date as well as terms to terminate the contract. So make sure a lot of people just get the document, they sign it and have no idea what they're signing. I've had people tell me that agents will give them like a 6 month termination.
Mhm.
So even if they did want to fire the agent, they couldn't for another 6 months, or they'd have to put their home search on hold for 6 months. So definitely want to pay attention to these kind of things.
Absolutely.
So you didn't always plan on renovating a home, and you were saying that a lot of the homes that you were looking at, you would have had to do some sort of work to it. Was it, I guess you were being outbid by investors that were paying cash for the properties that were in your price range? Like was that the reason that you needed to go for it, or that you, I guess, eventually decided to go with the 2 or 3K loan?
So the thing about me is like, obviously, a home is a very sentimental thing for most people, right? Your home, that's where you live, that's where you reside. Whatever the previous owner may have done to the home is what was ever to their liking.
Hmm.
So when I was looking at the homes, I was like, well, I mean, yeah, but kind of want to do this. I kind of want to do that. I'm just like, I want to do this to the kitchen. I don't want to do this to the flooring. All right. So I'm already looking at these houses and I'm already thinking about, okay, I want to do these updates. It's like, is there a way where I could like wrap up the cost of all the stuff that I want to do anyways? Like, let's just say it was a nice, a nice updated home. I'm still going to want to make changes to my liking. Like,
Right.
what if there's a way I could wrap up that cost? And yeah, that's another way that kind of led me into the 203K. I was like, yeah, this is a better fit for me. I can
Gotcha.
do actual not just cosmetic, but like actual physical things to the house that I really want to do. Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily that you were getting beat out by investors. They were nice houses.
hmm
It just wasn't to your liking.
Yeah, that and yeah, I mean also I was losing to investors as well. So yeah, it was a combination of both. Yeah.
Fashionable. Gotcha. Okay. What kind of renovations did the loan cover and what did it not cover? Do you remember?
Yeah. So you have the FHA loan, first home buyer loan, and then you have the construction loan. So depending on your approval and I think your credit, you're able to do so. The construction loan, you're able to do more. I think it was like 25 to 30K for the FHA loan. I think you have up to like 25 or 30K renovations, and then the construction, you're able to do like more. It's been a while, but you're able to do more construction things. So like on a construction loan I did, I'm able to update the kitchen, well, essentially do the whole house, kitchen, update the flooring, new bathrooms, the whole nine.
So you finally found a home. You decided to go with 3K. You finally found a home. What did you see in the property that you bought that made you say, yeah, this is the one?
Yeah, I love that question because I remember getting to the point of where I was getting frustrated because I was like, all right, well, I'm looking, I'm not seeing the house that I want. I remember one of my stipulations was I have to have a driveway. Have to. I was like, I want a driveway because I wanted to be able to park my car off the street if it's necessary. And I remember I was looking, and every house that I went to that had a driveway didn't work out. I was like, okay, maybe I need to like change like my parameters a little bit. And I remember the night I found the house. I was on Redfin and I was looking, and I was looking. I was looking for hours, and something just told me you might have to go in the city. And I was like, I don't think I want to go in the city. I,
You
I, I
know,
was I was
county.
I wanted to stay in the county because I was like, well, I like because I was in Towson at the time. I was like, well, I like the county. I want it because the city is like, I don't want to be in the city. But the city, what I didn't realize is the city is also it's very county like too. So it just depends on where in the city you are. But I remember like, all right, well, I guess let me look in the city. And I remember I saw the house and I was like, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. This is interesting. The first thing that caught my eye is like I think they said the buyer's willing, the seller's willing to negotiate. So they're ready to get it off their hands. I was like, okay, this seller is ready, like they're ready to move.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the home and I was like, okay, it has an unfinished basement, perfect, because I want a man cave.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, there's no driveway, but it had a garage, and I was like, oh, is that a garage? And I was like, all right, and I texted my realtor. I was like, yo, I think I was like something. I was like, I think this is the house. Just something told me like this is the house. After you've been rejected, after so many offers putting other houses, you just feel something in your spirit when you see the house. You're just like, that's gonna be my. I just knew it. I was like, that's gonna be my house. So I
Yeah.
wasn't even worried about the offer because I was like, all right, let's go see the house. I went to see the house, and then I was like, yeah, let's put an offer in. And before he got back to me, something in my spirit was like, you're gonna get the house. So I think I originally bid like 220 on it, and they countered, and we met because I think they had like for 230, and they countered, and
It
then
was listed at 230.
yeah, I think it was listed at 230, and then we put a bid for 220, and then they countered for 225, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it, and that was it.
How many offers had you put in before this one?
I think like 4 or 5.
Okay.
It wasn't like 20, 25, but I was on a mission. Like I had a timeline. I was like, well, I leave my apartment at this date. I need a house by this time. So that's why I was a little bit more pressed. Yeah.
I got you. So you were up
Yeah.
against an expiring lease.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to stay at this apartment another year, so I have to get a house.
So you find a home and you see, and you tell your realtor that you wanted to make an offer. What was the, or how long from the date your offer was accepted to settlement? And what did you need to do in that time frame for a 2 or 3K loan? Because with a regular conventional loan and or FHA, you do your inspection. You get the bank will get the property appraised. The seller will make any repairs, or you negotiate in between that time, and then you go through underwriting and all that jazz, and then you settle. But with the 2 or 3K loan, explain to the listeners or people watching this, like what goes on, in that time frame with the 2 or 3K loan. What additional stuff?
So the good thing about the 2 or 3K, so then this is why I'm a realtor was such a great resource, is we went to see the house and then we did what you can do called pre-inspection, right? So you could do a pre-inspection, which is smart, where it's going to cost a little extra money, but you do a pre-inspection, you have someone come out, look at the home before you put in an offer. It's kind of like like, okay, let's just check around. And then he came out, did a pre-inspection, and then I was like, okay. So, and the other good thing about the 2 or 3K is, so like you mentioned, when you put in a regular offer and then you're going back and forth, like, okay, seller repairs, with the 2 or 3K or the construction loan, you're like, well, you don't need to worry about repairs because I'm going to do the work anyways. But it's kind of like a balancing act because like, for instance, you don't want to look at the home and there's like foundation issues because then your
Right.
budget's going to be stretched. You could be like, all right, well, I got to fix the foundation, this, that, and the third. And I forgot to mention that when me and my realtor were looking at homes at 2 or 3K, he was a great resource because I was like, hey, what do you think about this home? And because he had a little knowledge, he's like, well, you know, this house has foundation issues, and if you're looking at a certain budget, it's gonna take most of your budget. So you need to find something that if you know what your budget is, you know that this is gonna cost this, that, and the third.
Right.
So when we did the pre-inspection, I was like, okay, we'll put the offer in. We got the offer. They accepted the offer. The other part of that journey is I think the seller also didn't really fully understand the 2 or 3K either, and that
Mhm.
it takes a little bit longer to close
Yeah.
because you put in the offer, they accept it, then you got to find a contractor. You should already have contractors. That's another part, and they put their bid in on what you want to do with the house. They put their bid. You say okay, and then the lender, excuse me, the lender, they have their own inspector that will come out and look at the contractor's bid and say, okay, they're overcharging you, or okay, yeah, this price seems reasonable for the work that you want to do. That way, you're not getting screwed.
Right.
And then you say, okay, yeah, I will go with this contractor. And they submit the paperwork. The lender gets it. It's all written up. And the contractor can't just be any little shady contractor. They have to be insured. They have to be approved by the state, all these other things. So it's not like you can just get anybody, which is also another good safety net. And then once it's approved, all the paperwork is done. It's submitted with regular paperwork like you would do when you're closing, and then you have your official mortgage. So let's say the house is 200K, and you're like, okay, well, the contractor says it's going to be 60K to do the renovations. The actual purchase price of the house is going to be 260K. But the good thing is the after rental value might be now 300K. So now you already have 40K in your pocket or equity.
Yeah.
So, which is another reason why I did the 2 or 3K loan. And then you have an updated home and you don't have to do the updates later. You're already doing it and you're living in the home with the new upgrades. So,
All right. Awesome. Did you select the contractor, or is that something that your realtor helped you with?
so I had one contractor and then he recommended one as well.
Okay.
And I ended up going with his because I think what I was trying to stick within a certain budget, and what I
Mhm.
wanted to do, the first contractor was too high, and I was going to have to cut out too much. But the other contractor was like, "Hey, look, I know you want to stick with this budget. Here's what we can do. This is my realtor's contractor. Here's what we can do." And it was enough to where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is satisfactory enough to where enough of the houses were being renovated. That's sticking to the budget that I'm looking for.
Okay. So the contractor that you ended up going with was
Mhm.
willing to, I guess, sit down with you, understand what you wanted, and then kind of help you value engineer it to a price point that you could afford.
Correct. And when he laid out everything, I was like, yeah, okay, I think I want to go with this guy because he's telling me the things that I need to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was straight.
Awesome.
He was straight with me. Yeah, which I appreciate.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's great, and it's important.
Yes,
Um, a lot of
absolutely.
contractors will just say, "Hey, this is what it is," and they try to hoodwink you or trick you into thinking that you have to do it
Yeah,
one way. In reality, there's ways to get things done
correct.
properly, and so that you're not, going to be calling them back later. But it doesn't have to be. Some contractors want to do everything high end,
Yeah,
and that's their brand, and I get it. But this property didn't require it, and I'm sure that's probably not what you were expecting
no,
either.
no, that's not what I needed.
What was the biggest no, what did I get myself into moment, if any?
Hmm.
And were there any moments in the process where you doubted yourself or the decision?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I'd say the oh no moment for me it wasn't a renovation, is when I closed. So you have this thing called buyer's remorse
Yeah,
that they warn you about that a lot of
yeah,
people have. So you go through the paperwork, you see all that money leave your account, and you close. And I remember the day after I closed, I went to the house and mind you, this is the house before any renovation has been done. And I'm like, and you have the keys in your hand and you're like, this is mine now. Like
yeah,
for some people that's exciting because like, oh, I got my first one. But when you're on a renovation journey, you
yeah,
have to have vision. And I remember saying to myself, like, I made this big decision by myself. No one else. I had to do everything by myself. My
yeah,
parents couldn't help me. Yeah, I had some input from the realtor, but all this was on me. And I literally had to exercise like faith and say, okay, I did it. Here I am.
yeah.
And I remember like saying, I don't know. I really don't know. But I pressed on and now where I'm at is literally my mom and grandma came to my house 2 weeks ago. And
Mhm.
I remember just them looking at the house like I remember when I first bought the home, my mom was like, Krishan, what is this? My dad was like, whatever. He was like, because my dad understood. But mom was like, why did you buy this house? Like, what? I was like, Mom, just wait and see. Now she stepped into the home. She's like, I didn't see it, but like, I'm proud. She's like, I'm proud of you, son. Like, they really turned this house around. It looks really good. And now it's like one of the best looking houses on the block. So it's just, yeah. So
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome. So you did or did not see the vision, or I guess once you walked into the house after settlement, you were just like, shoot, this is really mine. Like, I really have to execute here.
It was a mixture of a lot of feelings because it was a lot of change happening at once.
Yeah,
I was transitioning into a new era of my life of owning a home. I had an apartment, so I was like, okay, well, I got the house. Now I got to work with the contractor to get this stuff done. And you're pretty much a project manager. Yes, the contractor handles all the huge stuff, but you got to facilitate between the bank and the contractor because the bank said they don't send the check to the contractor; they send it
right.
to you. And you
Yeah,
have to communicate between the contractor and the bank to let them know, hey, yeah, the contractor got this part of the work done. So another thing to touch on when it comes to the process is the contractor doesn't get all the money up front. So
hmm,
they get out in installments. That ensures that the contractor doesn't run off with, they do their job.
yeah,
So let's just say you want to do a bathroom and you want to do kitchen. They'll send, 2, 3K to get some of the kitchen done. Okay. The, what they call the HUD inspector from the bank will come out and say, okay, yep, they did a good job. All right, give them the next check. And then they get the next check and then they continue to work. So you have to facilitate all of that. And thank God for for my career, my job, I work from home. I was able to be flexible and be able to do that because the check comes in the mail. And mind you, I'm still at the apartment. So I have to tell the bank to send it to my house that
yeah.
I'm not living in yet. So I get the check, contractors to come, they have to cash the check so that way they can start the next project. So all that I had to do by myself. And it wasn't easy, but it taught me so much, and I learned a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So you were balancing. So you were a project manager, and you had to work your full time job, your regular job.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had to do that, and I had to deal with other personal things. So it was a lot going on at once. But, those kind of situations, I think certain things come into your life to grow you, to
absolutely.
grow your character, grow you spiritually, personally. And I think that going through that situation for me just helped me grow as an individual. And now I'm just like, yeah, like I can handle whatever comes my way. So
No, I love that. Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. I love that.
absolutely.
So the payment or the draw schedule that you were talking about, just to explain for those that are listening, as Krishan said, the bank is not just going to give either Krishan or the contractor the lump sum upfront. You'll never see the contractor again.
Yeah.
So there's a draw schedule, and the contractor does not get money up front. They have to do, and I think part of the vetting process is the contractor has to have enough cash to start the project themselves. And if they don't, then they won't be getting the job. So the contractor has to have enough cash to start the project themselves. Say you're doing a whole house renovation, they'll do the demolition. After the demolition, then they'll get their first draw to reimburse them for work that they've done. Then they do the roughing. After roughing, then they'll get reimbursed, and so on and so on.
Correct. Yep.
And the bank, and you were saying they were mailing those checks?
Yeah, did mail the checks. I had to wait for them to come in. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't a
Yeah.
wire.
No, it wasn't a wire. If that was an option, that probably would have been better. But yeah, they get the check, and then I have to sign it, and then the contractor signs it, and then they
Right.
cash out the check. Yeah. So
Okay. For new construction homes, as a buyer, you're able to go to the design center to choose from a few, pre-selected options
Mhm.
that the builder has. But for you, using the 203K option, you're the design center. You choose. How did that work? Did your contractor give you suggestions, or did you have the vision going into it saying, "Hey, this is what I want"? And were you making your selections based off of the budget or the allowance that was given to you for each item
So
or
my
space?
contractor played a big part in helping me kind of decide. I mean, they didn't tell me, "Hey, you need to go with this," but it's like, "Hey, here's the options that will fit within your budget. I think this would look good because I've done this on this home, with that home, and they'll show me pictures, and I'll be like,
Mm,
oh yeah, I think I like that. I'll go with that color scheme, or I'll go with that flooring." So that's kind of the process that helped me kind of decide on the materials. And I mean, some things like, and you can always change it. You can be like, okay, they installed this. Like, let's just say let's say in the bathroom renovation, they installed this faucet. I'm like, okay, I don't like that faucet. I'll just get this one off Amazon that I really like. Uh,
yeah.
or or they'll give you a suggestion, and you'll say, hey, actually, let me look up an apartment. Let me pay for it myself, get what I want, and they just install it for you because it's already part of the process. So
Okay. So he took care of it was labor and materials. And
correct, labor and
outside,
materials.
okay. And if you
Yeah,
wanted something either, that was maybe a little higher level, then you would
I
purchase
got it
it.
myself.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And you already said you weren't living in the home for the renovation. So were you paying rent and a mortgage during this time?
So I was paying rent for a little bit. I think they give you, I forgot what the process was called because it's been a while, but you're able to get some type of process where if you aren't able to move into the home during the renovation journey, then they have, I forgot what it's called. So forgive me, but you're able to cover both expenses. But it was to the point where there was one part of the home that it needed to be done in order for it to be move-in ready. So like they got
Yeah.
all the flooring done, they did the paint, all that stuff, and then they did the kitchen. I think when I moved in, the kitchen was like 80% there. So I was using like a skillet and stuff like that. Bathroom still wasn't done, so I was showering at the gym, but it was a part of the process, man. It was, yeah. And now to where the home is at now, and this is another touch point I wanted to touch on, is like the beautiful thing about the 203K and what some people may think it's a pain point is when one part of the house, like one part of the project is done, like you get to see it and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is a new addition to this home. And you're
Right.
able to like enjoy it. And it's like it's fresh. It's like a new home. It's like, oh, like I have this whole new kitchen for me. So yeah, that's what I enjoyed most about the process, even though there were some painful points where you're like, man, I wish this was done, yesterday. But when it's done, you're like, yeah, it's done and it's for me.
Yeah. Awesome. So I do want to touch on that. Did you renovate entire, or what parts of the home did you renovate? Uh, It wasn't an was it a full home renovation? Or it was for the most part, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, it was a whole home. I did kitchen, bathroom, finished the basement. That was where most of the budget went. The basement. And then, yeah, there was the basement, the kitchen. What else did we do? Yeah, pretty much the whole house. I mean, there are certain things, other things I want to do that I did after the 2 or 3 day process, but for the most part, for my initial budget, everything was done. And then there's this other part where they give you, what is it called? Like, I'll say it's like, I guess, an emergency funds for if something, let's just say they're demolition and they find mold. I think contingency fund. There we go.
Contingency. Yeah,
Yeah.
contingency.
So if you're smart, so we had some money. So the contingency fund, we wanted to finish the bathroom, but it wasn't in the original budget.
Mm,
So if you're able to finesse, you can use the contingency fund to do other upgrades. So
right.
that's how I was able to do the other bathroom. But yeah, so
What part of the house, you'll probably say the basement, but what part of the house, I guess, had the biggest transformation?
yeah, basement. But people are in the basement often. The kitchen for sure. The kitchen
Right.
into the den to the back room, and I mean, I know this wasn't a part of 2 or 3K, but now the front of it, like the whole front of, like as soon as you walk into the house, it's just like it's open and it's just like whoop, boom, kitchen, and then the living room. So it's just, yeah, that main level.
Anything that came up in part of as part of construction that you weren't expecting?
I would say, and this is what any type of construction or any kind of renovation you do, whatever, the timelines. You always the contractors are going to tell you, hey, we're going to get this done in 14 days, and 14 days turn to 3 months.
Yeah.
It's timeline. That's what you have to be patient on.
So with their lease expiring, were you in the apartment longer than you expected?
No, so I remember telling my contractor, "Hey, my lease is about to end. I need to move in." So he was able to do enough of the house for it to be moving ready for at least, because the bedroom was done to where I could move in while they were continuing on the renovation. So yeah, but I mean, outside of the 2 or 3K, I mean, when people want to do an upgrade in their home anyways, or they do want to do it, they have to live through it. So it's no different from if you own a regular home and you say, hey, I want to update the kitchen, contractors have to
Right.
do all that work. You have to live through it for a couple of months. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been in the home for a while. How is the home ownership experience so far?
Great. The good thing about a 2 or 3K, and this is what people say, oh, be careful when you buy a home, make sure you have a fund for when things break. The good thing
Mm,
about the 2 or 3K is nothing's going to break because you've updated everything. You've demoed, you've updated the plumbing, you've updated the bathroom, updated the kitchen. Um, Maybe let's just say, I don't know, maybe HVAC, even though you're not updating the HVAC. I mean, some people do, but that, or maybe like a water heater. But for the most part, everything's updated. So you're not really worried about, oh, I need to have all this money set aside because this is going to break, because you've already pretty much updated most of everything. So yeah, it's pretty fresh and new. So yeah, home ownership has been great. Make sure you choose a good neighborhood. You when you're looking at homes and you want to put a bid on the home, make sure you go to that place at night. Okay, how's it at night? How's the area at night? How's Another thing is, okay, how far is it going to take me to commute to the things I like to go to frequently? Like me, I like to go to the gym. So how far is the house from the gym? How far is it from the grocery store I like to go to? How far
mhm.
is it from the Beltway if I need to go on the highway? How far is it from shopping center, or when I want to go out to eat, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Making sure you're doing that research is essential for being content when you buy your home.
Right.
Yep.
Cool. My next question. Women are outpacing men, Black men specifically. I'm going to
Yeah.
focus on that when it comes to home ownership. I was doing a continuing education class, statistics for this particular program here in Baltimore. And I want to get this right. For this program here in Baltimore, 72% of the customers are Black single women between the ages of 25 and 44. And that correlates with the fact that, you know, women are outpacing men when it comes to prioritizing home ownership. As a single Black man, and you kind of touched on it earlier, why was it so important for you to, you know, make this investment now?
Yeah. So I always say to myself, like, okay, by the time I'm 35, 40, not even just 30, let's say 40, I'm like, okay, why didn't I get the home when I could have? When I was young, you know, because by 40, I want to be like, I've had two or three properties and I'm having this passive income. I don't want to be 40. I'm like, well, still don't have a property. I still don't have this investment. So I'm just like, I'm always thinking about the future. So
Mhm.
to touch on the point about Black women having higher ownership than men, yeah, that's true. You know, they're getting more degrees than us and they're getting more homes than us because, you know, they're not waiting for men anymore to buy properties. So and I
Yeah,
don't blame them.
shouldn't.
I don't blame them at all. You know, I think it's great. I'm very happy to see an educated Black woman for getting the things that she deserves, you know, based on the education and the hard work she's put in. And also, I think it's another tool in the tool belt because let's say you have a woman who has a property and she meets a man that has a property. So now you're like, okay, well, we're getting married. We can rent out my house or we can rent out his house, passive income already, and then stay in his house. And if they want to buy another property, now he has a property, she has a property, they rent out two properties, that's passive income, and now they have their house. So I'm all for it. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you think with the future in mind, or I think it as an investor is how I call it. And that's what I encourage a lot of my single friends, you know,
Hmm.
that are on the fence. Like they want to buy, but they're just like, I'm not married, or, you know, I can wait. Like, do it now. I wish I did it sooner.
Hmm.
I was kind of, you know, looking into it before I got married, and then, you know, some things happened and I just ended up not pursuing it. But I wish I was more intentional about doing it then, especially in PG County. I was living and working in that area at that
Hmm.
time. And that was early, that was 2013, 2014.
Wow.
Prices weren't, you know, what they are now. Had I
Hmm.
bought then, you know, I'd have been able to
Yep.
ride that appreciation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I always encourage, you know, especially first time home buyers, like you're
Hmm.
not what you want or everything you want in your first home, unless you have a
No.
whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, think of it as an investment. You know, purchase the property, you know, that works for you,
Hmm.
and then you know, build that equity over time, and then you
Absolutely.
can trade up, you know, for something else. So I love how you think. I love that you're thinking like an investor and with the future in mind.
Hmm.
And you kind of did touch on something I was going to ask you. You're a single guy. When you go
Hmm.
out and meet women,
Hmm.
talking to them, like, do you feel like it gives you an edge that, you know, you're a homeowner?
I think what I've learned about women I'm an old man now, not really, but is
Get out of here, bro.
having a home doesn't really, I mean, yeah, it's something like, oh, but I think really what they really care about is just a man who's just has stability, right? So
Hmm.
if he lives at home with his parents, I mean, I don't think they look down at that either. But like, okay, if you're at home with your parents, okay, what kind of job do you have? Are you working towards getting a property? Are you working towards getting a place? Are you saving for something? Like, you know, what's the context behind it? If he's just at home with his parents, he's like, oh, I'm just living here just to live here.
Yeah.
Then no, they're not going to go
What's
for
your
it.
net worth if you're staying at home? Because if you're staying at
Right.
home, you're not paying bills or anything, or if you're a few bills, but you don't have a mortgage, you gotta have some savings at least.
At least they're not going to rock with you. So I think all they care about is okay, you know, the three things that he has his own place, does he have a car, does he have a job, right? So if a man has those three things, most they won't really have a problem with a woman. You know, if he has an apartment or a house. Now, of course, if he has a house, you know, it shows a little bit more responsibility. Like, okay, he has his own property, something shows that he has a little bit more thought into his future and shows that he's somewhat stable, because to get a house is not anybody can just get a house. And you have some type of credit, income, the bank got to verify the income. You need to have it. Yeah, all that stuff is important in order to buy a house. So yeah, I think on the stability standpoint, it might make them raise an eyebrow. But if you're not a good person, then it's not going to make it. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not going to make a difference.
That's first. That comes first. That comes first.
Absolutely.
I mean, if it's a tiebreaker between, oh yeah, all things being equal,
Mhm.
this person is rented versus having a house.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've been out the game for a while. I hear it's good.
Yeah. But also another element of having your own place, whether it's a house or an apartment, it also is it shows refuge, right? Because when you're getting to know somebody and they're able to come into your space and see how you kind of live and see how they kind of function around, they get.
Yeah.
I think your place shows a little bit about your personality. Like, okay, well, okay, he decorated his place like this. Okay, that shows a little bit of how, what he likes, what he doesn't like, and how do I fit into that. So I think those things are important. Yeah.
What advice would you give to, and I'm being specific with, those in the Black community, because the statistics show that we are, very far behind than, our white brothers and sisters, Latinos, Asians.
Mm-hmm.
What advice
Yeah.
would you give to those in the Black community about home ownership or preparing for home ownership, and especially a 203K project, since you've been one?
Yeah. What advice would I give about home ownership? Ooh, I would say, first and foremost, you're not trapped if you get a home. I mean, obviously, if you buy a home and I know, God forbid, a tornado rips the roof off your house. I mean, that's what home insurance is for. But that's another story. That's an extreme case. Having a home, I think for a lot of Black men, I'm a man, so I can speak on this. I think our priority first is getting money, right? We want to make sure we get our finances right. And
Yep.
we sometimes lose the equation that, well, in order to become stable or have our finances in a row, we also need to think about the long term, not just the short term. So I need to think about, well, how is my money going to move when I'm not producing? How can I make my money grow when I'm sleeping? And one of those things is buying a home. Now, with the internet, there's always going to be like, well, why you shouldn't buy a home, this or that. But I think real estate is one of the best ways to grow capital and grow your income, because it allows you to have a real hard asset.
Yeah.
A car is a depreciating asset. You're not going to make money. I mean, depending on what side of the business you are, you're not going to make money off a car. You need an asset that's going to have you grow your investments long term. And having real estate is one of those prime areas, especially in Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore has come. I've only been here for 5 years.
Mhm.
It's prices, especially in our neighborhood where we live,
Yeah.
it's gone up exponentially, primarily because number one, inflation, right? So inflation has gotten higher, so that makes affording a house a lot harder because our paychecks are getting stretched thinner. So
Yeah.
which makes Baltimore a more attractive place for home first-time home buyers or buyers in general, because the housing is a lot more affordable. So now you have the DC and the PG County transplants coming to Baltimore because they're like, well, my dollar goes further up there. And also the stigma that comes, like, well, Baltimore, it's a crime, but like, as some people say, live like if you live here, are there bad parts of the city? Yes,
Yeah.
but
That's
Baltimore, it's a relatively chill city. It's a relatively chill city. I mean, if as long as you're not out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning looking for trouble, ain't nobody gonna bother you.
right.
Everyone's just hustling and bustling, trying to get to work, do what they got to do, and get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that it's important that we educate and talk about these things. And most of the guys that I know want to own a home. I think it's just they're intimidated by maybe not knowing the process or understanding that they can afford to buy a home. You don't need to have 100K saved up to buy a home. You can do an
Mhm.
FHA loan, or there's different programs that they can do in order for them to buy their first home. So
Right. Yeah, lots of loan programs out there. Actually,
absolutely.
a client that got into a home recently with only 3,000.
Mhm.
out of pocket.
Yep.
So yeah, she brought $39 to settlement the day of settlement. So
That's it.
it's
It's
there are a lot
possible.
of programs out there that make it. Although I don't recommend it. Like if you're broke, like don't go into homeownership.
No.
But you have some money saved up, and you don't spend as much money as you think you do. Awesome. What's one question you'd love for me to ask my next guest on the show about homeownership?
That's a great question. I'd like you to ask them about homeownership. What did they think buying a home was going to be like, and how has that perspective changed now that they own a home?
Okay.
I think
All
that's the
right.
question that comes to mind. Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Krishan's story. Thank you, bro, for coming on the podcast. Thank you for
Absolutely.
the suggestion again.
Anytime.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where this thing goes.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it to take off.